Hello, everyone. Welcome to this editor webinar. Thank you for joining us. I hope my voice is loud and clear. So I'm Chandni Manuel. I'm part of the Learning and Content Management team. I'll be hosting the session for today. And joining with me are my colleagues, Sridevi, Charlotte, and Jennifer. If you have any question at any time during the session, please use the Q&A chat box to send your question directly to us. We'll try to answer as many as possible today directly in the Q&A field. Please note that we cannot answer any journal-specific questions. For the best view, you may wish to drag the central bar on your screen to the right to enlarge the screen that I'm sharing. Our session is being recorded and you'll be sent a link when the recording is ready. Our topic for today is Editorial Manager training for editors-in-chief. So I hope that in the next 60 minutes, we can enhance your understanding on this topic. So let's take a look at our agenda for today. So we will start with the editor main menu in Editorial Manager, and then we'll see how to deal with a new submission, how to manage the peer review process, how to submit your final decision, and I will also signpost you to some of our e-learning materials and training resources that are available. So I'm going to be using our training site today for the demonstration. So I'll be using some test papers and dummy users for demonstrating the features in Editorial Manager. So I will now switch over to Editorial Manager. So we are currently in the Editorial Manager site. So this is our training site. So I have logged in as a test editor-in-chief here. So we are at the editor main menu. So now, basically we have, Editorial Manager supports two kinds of workflows, direct to editor workflow and central receiving office workflow. So we are looking at our training site, which supports direct to editor workflow. So in this workflow, once an author submits a paper to the journal, editor-in-chief will be directly notified. So editor-in-chief will be able to access the new submissions from the direct to editor new submission folder here. So there is an additional task which editor-in-chief will have to perform in a direct to editor workflow. So you see here, there is an option called assign to myself. So editor-in-chief will have to click on this assign to myself option so that the paper will move into your new assignment folder, from where you can proceed with inviting reviewers, or you can assign the paper further to a subordinate editor. So before you assign the paper to yourself, if you wish to assign this paper to another editor-in-chief, you can use this option redirect to other editor, or if you want to send the paper back to the author, you can click on the send back to author option here. But remember that you can redirect this paper to another editor of the same hierarchy and not to subordinate editors. So now I'm going to use this assign to myself option here to move this paper to my new assignments folder. So now the paper is under the new assignments folder for the editor-in-chief. So from this folder, editors-in-chief can directly invite reviewers, or they can further assign this paper to subordinate editor. So now I'm going to switch over to another Editorial Manager site, which supports the central receiving office workflow. So again, I have logged in as a test editor-in-chief here, and you may see under your to-do list that these additional folders which were enabled for a direct to editor workflow are not available here. So the papers are directly assigned to the editor-in-chief by the central receiving office, who could be an editorial office, a managing editor, or a journal manager. So from this new assignments folder here, you can take two actions, either to reject the paper straight away or to proceed with inviting reviewers. So once you start to invite reviewers, the papers then come into reviewers invited no response folder here until the reviewers accept or decline the invitation sent. Once the reviewers have responded to the invitation, the papers will then move into submissions under review folder here. At times, you will notice that the paper can be located in more than one folder at the same time. So for example, if you have invited two reviewers for a particular manuscript, one reviewer has accepted the invitation. So the paper is under review folder here. And at the same time, there's one other reviewer who is yet to respond to the invitation. So the paper can be seen in both these folders at the same time. So once the required number of reviews are completed, the papers then automatically move into submissions with required reviews complete folder here. And this is the ideal folder from where you will make a decision on a manuscript. We also have additional folders here to track the manuscripts during the review process. So submissions requiring additional reviewers means that there are insufficient number of invited reviewers or there are lack of alternate reviewers, and editors will have to invite more reviewers for those papers. And submissions with one or more late reviews mean that there is one review which is running late, and probably editors will have to chase and send them reminders or uninvite the reviewer and then invite a new set of reviewers for those manuscripts. So the papers are automatically moved into each of these folders as and when the status gets updated. So in addition to this, you also notice there are some color codes. So these color codes represent the status of the submissions in each of these folders. The papers that are highlighted in green color means they are on target, and the papers that are highlighted in yellow or amber color means they are going to be overdue. And the ones that are highlighted in red color means they are already overdue and it requires editors' immediate attention. So these color codes are further carried forwarded to each of the manuscripts under these folders. So I'm going to click on the new assignment folder here. So this table, which you can see here, can be customized according to editor's wish. So you may drag and drop the columns wherever you would like to place them. And if you would like to customize the columns in this table, you may use this grid option here on the right-hand side. And you can choose which columns have to be enabled or disabled by just ticking or unticking the checkboxes here. So now let's look into the most important options under the action column. So the view submission link is nothing but the consolidated PDF of all the source files provided by the author. If editors wish to download the individual source file, you can download them using the file inventory option here. So we have the similarity check. So we have a plagiarism detection tool that is inbuilt in Editorial Manager. So all papers that are submitted to Editorial Manager will be automatically subjected for a plagiarism check. And the results of the plagiarism check is automatically published here for editors' quick reference. So this percentage here shows you how much of the text matches with the published papers across external databases. In addition to the similarity check, we also have an automatic duplicate submission check. So this duplicate submission check compares the submitted paper against the previously submitted papers by the author in terms of the abstract, article title, and author details. And clicking on this link from the action column further tells you where exactly the match was found on the author names, abstract, or the article title. So anything which is highlighted in red color means it's a high score and it requires further follow-up with the author to find out the reasons for resubmitting the paper again. And then we have the details option here. So the details option provides you the complete information about the manuscript during the submission process. So you can see the corresponding author details. You can directly correspond with the author using this email icon for any clarifications or queries. And if you scroll down, you can see any comments from the authors. So these are confidential comments from author to the editor. And if you scroll down, you can see the abstract provided by the author. And what are the keywords and classification topics that are selected by the author. And scrolling down further, So once the editor-in-chief assigns this paper further to a subordinate editor, you will be able to see the complete information about the editors who are associated with this manuscript. And once reviewers have been invited for the manuscript, you will see the complete information about the reviewers, such as the name of the reviewer, the date when the reviewer was invited, when is the review due, and how many automatic reminders have been sent from the system. And if you scroll to the bottom of this page, you can see the author responses to the submission questions. So that's about the details option here. And then we have the initiate discussion option. So if you would like to start a discussion about this paper with your peers or with the subordinate editors, you don't have to manage these discussions via emails outside the editorial system. It is possible to manage these discussions within Editorial Manager itself. So just by clicking on the initiate discussion option, you can start a discussion with your peers. So you just have to provide a topic for your discussion here and initial comments about what is that you would like to discuss about this paper. And you can invite as many editors you would like from this particular journal just by selecting the checkboxes here. So scroll down and you can start the discussion with these editors by sending them a customized letter or without sending them a letter. So the benefit of using this option initiate discussion is that you are able to go back and refer to these comments and the conversations that has happened for this particular paper at the time of making a decision. And then we have the history option here. So this is more like an audit trail that records all the emails and notifications that are sent from the system, such as the reviewer invitation letters, author decision letters, and so on. And using this edit submission option here, you will be able to edit the submission metadata and rebuild the PDF in the system once again. And if the journal uses classifications, you will be able to see this option from the action column here. So you will be able to see the complete list of classification topics that are used by the journal on the left-hand side. And on the right-hand side, you can see the author chosen topics. So as an editor, you will be able to add or remove any topics, whichever you feel is relevant for this manuscript. So I'm going to add this topic here for this manuscript and then click on the submit button. And if you wish to assign this paper further to a subordinate editor, you can click on this assign editor option. And if you want to communicate with the assigned editors or with the reviewers or authors, you can very well manage these discussion or emails using this option here without having to do it outside the system. And the rest of the options here allows you to search for similar articles that are published in Medline, PubMed, and Scopus. So these are some of the important options that you should be aware of from the action column. So now let's go into the inviting reviewers part. So I'm going to click on this invite reviewers option here. So the reviewer selection summary page is exactly where you're going to select, invite, and manage reviewers for your submission. So before we go into the reviewer search box here, so let's take a quick look at the review settings. So we have three important statements here under the review settings. So these statements govern the review process for each manuscript. So whatever value that you see here on the screen are the default values that are used by the journal. However, as an editor-in-chief, you can change these values according to your wish. But remember, you need to change these values for every manuscript. If you wish to make any changes to the default values, please contact your journal manager. So submission a note to the required reviews complete folder under your to-do list as soon as 2 reviews are completed for your manuscript. So you can change this value according to your wish. And we also have automatic uninvitation. So if a reviewer do not respond to the invitation within 14 days, on the 15th day, the reviewer will get automatically uninvited from the manuscript. And just like automatic uninvitation, we also have automatic unassignment for agreed reviewers. So if any of the reviewers have not submitted their comments within a particular time frame, the reviewers will get automatically terminated. So if at all you see this value as 0, which means that this feature has been turned off by the journal. If you wish to specify a duration, you're always welcome to use the change option here and specify the value. Or if you would like to turn off these automatic uninvitation, you can always switch over these values to 0. So now let's move into the reviewer search box here. So this reviewer search box, we broadly have two types of search option here. So the search my publication allows you to search for reviewers internally using the journal's database. And the find reviewers using Scopus tool allows you to search for reviewers across different platforms and outside your journal's database. So now let's see what are the different options that are available within the search my publication option here. So the first option that is selected here by default, search for reviewers, allows you to search for reviewers from the journal's database. And from the second drop down here, you can further refine your search. If you would like to search for all reviewers, so reviewers who are also editorial board members in this journal, or if you would like to exclusively search for an editorial board member, you need to select editorial board member. Or if you would like to search for a user who is just a reviewer in this journal, you need to select reviewer. Or if you would like to search for the entire database, including the authors and the editors, you need to select the entire database here. So if you are searching for a user, but you are unsure whether the user is available in the journal database or not, I would highly recommend you to use the entire database search. So even though the user is not a reviewer yet in this journal, the search results will display the user's profile so that you can go ahead with assigning a reviewer role for the user and invite the reviewer for your manuscript. So now I'm going to run this search by selecting entire database and then click on the go button here. So we have various criteria here to search and find a reviewer. So the primarily used criteria are the first name, last name, and the email address. But in this example, I'm going to search using the people flag name. And I'm going to select the value as recently accepted author and click on the search button here. The search results will be displayed just below the table. So the search results here display all authors who have recently been successful in accepting a paper in this journal. So those authors can be identified using this capital orange flag, A flag here, which will be assigned to all authors who have been successful in publishing a paper with this journal. So this particular flag will be assigned this particular flag will be assigned to all authors, and these authors are informed through their acceptance letter. And this flag will be assigned once in a quarter to identify all the authors who have recently published papers with this particular journal. So after having a complete look about the table here, you can now decide whether you would like to invite this reviewer or not, just by clicking on this invite checkbox here. So clicking on this invite checkbox, the invitation will be sent out to the author. But if you would like to add this reviewer to your alternate list, you can click on this alternate checkbox here. So these alternate reviewers will automatically get promoted in the system, as and when the invited reviewers decline the invitation or gets automatically uninvited from the assignment. So just like alternate reviewers, we also have something called proposed reviewers. So these proposed reviewers will get added to the manuscript. Later in the review process, editors can decide how they wish to use these reviewers, whether you would like to invite them straight away or you would like to use them as your alternate reviewers. So until then, these proposed reviewers will not receive any sort of notification from the system. So in this example, let me choose a couple of them as my primary and my alternate reviewer. So once you have selected your candidates, just click on this proceed button at the bottom. So in the landing page here, you will be able to customize the invitation letter to the reviewers. and also change the number of days given to the reviewer to submit their comments. So once you have finalized, you can always click on the confirm selections and proceed button here in order to send out the notifications to the reviewers. So I'm going to step back and go back to the previous screen. So now let's see what are the other options that are available from the drop-down. The second option here suggested by author. So if the author has suggested any potential reviewers for his manuscript, you will be able to see the recommendations by the author over here. So just selecting this option and clicking on the go button here, you will be able to see the author suggested reviewers. So some of them could be already registered in this journal. So in this particular example, we see Rosefield is already available in this journal as a reviewer. However, there might be other reviewers who are also not available. So you can use the register and select new reviewer option here. So just copy the email address of the reviewer from here and use this register and select new reviewer option to proxy register this reviewer in the journal. And you may assign this reviewer as a potential candidate for your manuscript. The rest of the three options here can be used if the journal is going to participate in classifications. So if it does, you will be able to find out suitable candidates based on the classification matches. So I'm going to perform a search using search by classification matches and click on the go button here. So the system will display the topics that are selected for the manuscript. And the number next to each of this classification topic represents the number of reviewers with a classification match. So editors can further select the topics which they would like to review and click on the submit button here. So the information that's presented here is very much similar. So the only column that editors will have to check is the classification matches. So this column will tell you how much classification topics match between the reviewer and the manuscript. And accordingly, editors could make a choice which reviewers could be invited for the manuscript. So as and when a reviewer completes a review on a particular topic, the topics will get added to the reviewer profile, which helps editors to find suitable candidates based on the classification matches. So just like that, reviewers will also have the option to add any topics to their profile. So you can use this option called search by personal classification to select reviewers based on the complete list of classification topics that are available for the journal. And then we have the last option here called suggest reviewer. So before editors could use this option here, just scroll down to the bottom of this page and click on the My Suggest Review Preferences here. So here editors could set their preferences. So based on your preferences, the system will automatically try to identify suitable candidates based on the classification matches. So it will automatically exclude any reviewers who come from the same institution and same city if you're going to tick these checkboxes here. And also you can refine your search if you don't want to see any reviewers who are not available in the system for the next 30 days or the next 15 days, or if you don't want to see any reviewers who already have more than 2 pending reviews and so on. And you can also sort this preferences based on these criteria here. So you can change these order according to your wish. So now I'm just going to cancel and come out of the screen. So irrespective of which option that you're going to select from the drop-down here, you can also dictate your preferences using this option over here at the bottom left called My Reviewer Display Preferences. So if the journal is going to use classifications, you can select how the classification topic should be displayed in the search results over here. And just like how we saw in our previous screen, you can sort the order and how the search results have to be displayed. So for example, if classification is the #1 match that you would like to see in the search result, you can make it as your first point here. And accordingly, you can change this order if the next thing that you would like to see is whether the person is a board member or not. And the next match that you would like to see is if the person, how much reviews has the person completed in this journal, and what is the average rating. And the reviewer should be resulted in an ascending manner. So you can change your order and click on this update order here. So once you have set your preferences here, so you may change the order and finally click on the submit button here. So you can change your preferences in this journal. So anytime when you run a search using these drop down, the search results will be displayed based on your preferences entered here. So now let's see how to search for reviewers using external database. So for that, you need to select this radio button, find reviewers using Scopus, and finally click on this go button here. So the first option here, system recommendation. So it processes the metadata from the submission to select up to 1,000 researchers of similar papers, filtering out any authors of the submission and any researchers who have co-authored with these authors in the past 3 years. And then it ranks and displays the recommended review candidates on the left-hand side here. So here you can see some key information about the reviewers, such as their H index, their similar works, and you may also see some color badges here. So these color badges is just to enable the editors with the selection process. So anything which is highlighted in red color is mostly negative. It tells that the reviewer is coming from the same country. And if the reviewer already has any reviews in progress, we also have blue badges here, which is mostly positive. So this tells the editor that this person has recently accepted papers in this journal. So therefore could be a potential reviewer for this manuscript. So now if you click on any particular reviewer, the complete information about the reviewer will be displayed on the right-hand side here, along with their account in Scopus. And if you scroll down, you can see what are the similar works published by the reviewer, what are the keyword matches, and this is their reviewing history in this journal and across other journals in Elsevier. And if you scroll down to the bottom here, you can see the complete statistics about the reviewer. And now if you wish to add this reviewer to your manuscript, you just have to click on this add to manuscript option here, and the reviewer will get selected from this particular option. So remember that when you are working on the find reviewers tool using Scopus, you will not be able to work on Editorial Manager simultaneously. So first you will have to select your reviewers using this option here, and then these reviewers can be imported to Editorial Manager. And there's also one more point that you have to be aware of. It takes up to 24 hours from when the author completes the submission for these recommendations to be generated. So if the recommendations don't appear the first time you check, so please try again later. Also note that submissions must contain manuscript keywords in order for these recommendations to be generated. So apart from these automatic generations apart from these automatic recommendations that are generated by this tool, we also have a manual keyword search here. So the author provided keywords are automatically pre-populated here. So editors can choose any of these keywords here, and you can try to search for reviewers from our Scopus database. Or if you would like to enter any keywords of your choice, you can also enter any keywords here. And then you can see the articles published since which year. And you can also use your selectors. If you're going to use multiple keywords, you can select if you would like to search for reviews based on both the keywords or just one single keyword. And just clicking on the search button here, the search results will be displayed. So again, you can choose the reviewers and you can add them to your manuscript here. In addition to these two options, we also have something called the interested reviewers. So these interested reviewers tab displays all researchers that have expressed their willingness to review for this journal on the reviewer hub through the volunteer to review option. So this being a test journal, we do not have any reviewers who have shown interest to review for this journal. So I'm just going to switch over to my presentation to show you how the screen is going to look like. So this is pretty much the same way how you see it before. So with this new feature, you can now search for and select candidates on the Find Reviewers tool. So if your journal is going to use classifications, interested reviewers will be asked to select appropriate terms upon registration, and you will be able to filter on these recommendations based on the classifications here. And also you will see some visual tags to access the profile information about the reviewer, and whether the reviewer has completed the online peer review course. And you can also select reviewers based on their invitation history here. And the complete information about the reviewer and their account in Scopus can be accessed over here through this link. And again, adding them to Editorial Manager is just like the same way. You can just click on the Add to Manuscript option here. And once the reviewers are selected, once the reviewers are selected, you will be able, the system will automatically import those reviewers to Editorial Manager. So now let me switch back to Editorial Manager. Okay, I'm sorry that I was not able to, the reviewers that I have selected have not been imported to Editorial Manager. So let me just show you how it's going to look like. So now once you have selected your candidates from this particular tool, you just have to click on the Return to Submission here. So these reviewers are automatically selected as your proposed reviewers. So you may change your selections. If you would like to invite them straight away, you can click on this invite checkbox. Or if you would like to use them as your alternate reviewers, you can click on this alternate checkbox here. So if the reviewer, if this particular user does not have a reviewer role in this journal, the system will automatically proxy register them, and you can go ahead with inviting the reviewer. So for example, I'm going to use this person as my proposed reviewer, and I click on the proceed button here. So in the next screen, if the reviewer does not have a reviewer role in this journal yet, editors will be prompted to assign them with a reviewer role. So in this particular screen, you will have to assign them with the reviewer role, and just go ahead with adding the reviewer to your manuscript. So in this particular scenario, I have added this reviewer to my proposed list so that notifications are not sent out to this reviewer. So now going back to the reviewer selection summary. So once the reviewers are selected and added to the manuscript using the above options that I explained, you will be able to see the list of reviewers listed down in the reviewer selection summary here. So I have pre-populated these reviewers with manipulated statuses. So we see there's one reviewer who has agreed to review, and there are two reviewers who are invited for this manuscript, and there's one reviewer who has declined the review. So editors can click on this decline reason to see what is the reason for the reviewer to decline this manuscript. And if reviewers want to re-invite the reviewer, just click on this re-invite option here. And also, if an agreed reviewer requests for an extension on the manuscript, editors can provide extension by just clicking on this manuscript details option here. So scroll down to the reviewer section. And against the reviewer name, you see an option here to change the review due date. So I'm going to give the reviewer some extension. So once you have extended the due date, make sure to scroll down and click the Save and Close button at the bottom here. So this way, the new review due date gets reflected in the system and it doesn't show up as overdue for the reviewer. So now if you see here, apart from the automatic uninvitations, we also have manual uninvitations. So editors can manually uninvite any reviewers or unassign them from the manuscript if there is no response at all. And if you scroll down below, we have a couple of alternate reviewers added. So these alternate reviewers are promoted in the order they are added to the manuscript. But if editors would like to shuffle this order, they can always just hold on to this grid option here and move around the reviewers so that you're able to shuffle this order. And also you can link an alternate reviewer with one of your invited reviewers here. For example, if I would like to replace David Roberts with Charles, I click on this chain icon here, and I'm going to link this person, David Roberts. So now if David Roberts, it's going to decline the invitation or gets automatically uninvited, Charles will automatically get promoted by the system, although there are other alternate reviewers in the queue. And if you scroll down further below, we have our proposed reviewers. So as I explained before, these proposed reviewers will not receive any sort of notification from the system. They are just added to the manuscript by the editors. Later, if editors would like to use them, you can straight away click on this invite checkbox here to send out the invitation email, or you may add this person to your alternate list if all your alternate reviewers get exhausted here. Or if you want to promote this alternate reviewer as your primary reviewer, just click on the star icon here in order to send out the invitation to this reviewer. So these are the different options that we have for selecting and finding reviewers using the internal journals database and outside the journal database using our Scopus tool. So you can find more about these options in our forthcoming webinar, which is going to happen later today on search and select reviewers, which will cover these options more in detail. So that's all about inviting reviewers. So now let me go back to the main menu. I'm going to show you how to make a decision. So for this, I'm going to access the manuscript from the submissions with required reviews complete folder here. So before you make your decision, editors would like to view the reviews and comments here. So I just click on the view reviews and comments link here. So you can see there are two reviewers who have completed a review with major revision, and the associate editor has provided his recommendation as major revision. So you can click on these individual recommendation terms in order to view the comments. So I click on the reviewer recommendation term here. And these are confidential comments that are passed to the handling editor from the reviewer. And these are comments to the author, which will be automatically pre-populated in the decision letter sent to the author. And if the reviewer has provided any attachment, you will be able to see them at the bottom. So editors can download a copy of this if they wish to see. However, authors will be able to download only a sanitized copy of this attachment, which will remove any reviewer identity in the attachment. And if the reviewer wants the review back in their account, if they have mistakenly submitted their comments and they wish to have the paper back in their account, editors can just click on this reopen review option here to put the paper back into the reviewer's account so that they can revise their comments and submit it once again in the system. So now I'm going to view the handling editor's comments for this particular paper. So these are confidential comments from the associate editor or the handling editor to the editor-in-chief. along with the reviewer comments automatically pre-populated here. And these are handling editor's comments to the author, which will be automatically fetched into the decision letter. So now editors can proceed with making their decision by clicking on the Submit Editor Decision and Comments here. So click on this decision term and you can select a decision term from the available list. So this confidential comments to editor box can be used to see what are the comments that are being sent from the handling editor to the editor-in-chief, which we previously reviewed. And over here, editor-in-chief can enter any comments to the author. So it's already been pre-populated here for the training purpose. And if you scroll down below, you will also be able to see the reviewer comments, the individual reviewer comments. And as an editor-in-chief, you can modify these comments if there's going to be any conflict of interest. You can modify them before the decision letter is sent to the author. So these are some decision phrases that could be used in the decision letter. So just by selecting the decision phrases, they will be incorporated into the decision letter. So these are some recommendations by the handling editor, which is being passed on to the editor-in-chief. However, it is up to the editor-in-chief to decide if you would like to use these decision phrases that are recommended by the handling editor. So now click on the proceed button at the bottom. So if you wish to make any changes to your decision, you can always click on this edit decision and you can go back and make any changes to your decision or your comments. Or if you wish to proceed with notifying the author, click on the proceed button here. So this is the author decision page. So here again, editors-in-chief can change their decision term. And depending on the decision term that you select from the drop-down list, the decision letters will be automatically updated in the body of the text. So you can customize this letter to the author if you would like to add any personal notes to the author. Please do not touch these merge codes because information will be automatically fetched from the journal's database. So once you have customized this letter, if there is any reviewer attachment, make sure that you provide access to the author by ticking this checkbox here. So if editors miss to check or tick this checkbox, authors will not gain access to the reviewer attachments. If you have customized this letter, you can always click on this preview letter in order to preview this letter. And then by clicking on the send now button, the decision letter will be sent to the author. So this is about making a decision and notifying the author. So I'm going to cancel this and step back. So I'm going to go back to the main menu now. So if you would like to chase reviewers who are running late, it is also possible that editors can send manual reminders to reviewers apart from the automatic reminders that are sent from the system. So you need to scroll down to the bottom of your editor main menu and just click on the send reminder letters here. Scroll down to the review reminder reports. So if you have the privileges to see the duration or frequency at which the automated reminders are sent from the system, you can click on this particular link here. If it is not available for you, you can always check with the journal manager. So there are two sorts of reminder letters that can be sent from the editors. One is to remind the reviewers who haven't accepted the invitation. And the review reminder report is for reviewers who are running late with the reviews. So I'm going to select this particular option here. And you can choose the editors from this drop down. You can select your name and choose your criteria. and click on the submit button. So this is going to give me all reviews which are passed by 1 day. So from this table here, you can see the manuscript number, the reviewer name, the handling editor, and the total number of reminders sent from the system. And these are reminders that are sent after the due date and before the due date. And these are the amount of reminders sent for accepting the invitation. So this total reminders sent includes both sort of reminders here. That is before the invitation has been accepted and before the review turns due. So now if you would like to remind any individual reviewer, you can always select using these checkboxes here. Or if you would like to send a batch email to all reviews that are running late, just click on this check all option here. Now scroll down to the bottom and click on the send reminders. So from this drop down, you will have to select the appropriate letter. So I'm going to select reviewer second late reminder. And at this point, you're allowed to customize this letter if you would like to add some personal touch to the reviewer, or if you would like to just send out default letters, click on send reminders here. So likewise, you can also remind reviewers who haven't accepted the invitation yet. So now I go back to the main menu. So we also have some support materials that are available for editors, and you can access them using this Pendo icon here. So when you click on this Pendo icon, so you can see what are the new releases and improvements that are made with Editorial Manager and some of the frequently asked questions from the editors. And we also have a 24/7 support from our research support team. You can contact this team via phone, email, chat, and callback option. And we also have some e-learning materials that are available here. To just click on this option here, and it will take you to our journal article publishing center. And if you scroll down here, we have a separate section for editors. So here you can find editor guide to Editorial Manager. So this will have a step-by-step instructions on how to perform your key editorial tasks, such as assessing a new manuscript, how to invite reviewers, how to manage the peer review process, and finally how to make a decision. And if you scroll down here, we also have some training videos and additional resources that are available. So you can refer to these video guides, and we also have a full-length video which is available for editors. You can refer them at any time, and you can take these, you can listen to these videos at your own pace. So with this, I have completed my content today for the session. So now I'm going to go back to my presentation. So thank you for listening to the content of today's session. We hope you found it useful. So we are going to spend the last few minutes looking at the questions that are raised by you today. So I'm now going to hand over the control to Charlotte, who will share the most commonly raised questions in the session today. So over to you, Charlotte.
Thanks, Chandani. So hi, everyone. Thanks for raising the questions that you did in the session today. We just had a couple. We do have a couple minutes now where we can open the floor. So if you do have a question, we're approaching the end of the session, but we've got a couple of minutes. We'll open up the floor in the Q&A field. If you type in your question there, we've got our team on hand to answer those questions if there are any more that come in the next few minutes. The ones that we did have raised today were quite interesting points, actually. So they focused on some of the reviewer invitation parameters. And if you haven't had a chance to look at them, I'm just going to cover those now. So we had someone asking about, firstly, is there a way to change the default letter for a reviewer invitation? So you can do that on a case-by-case basis with the customized link that we saw today. But if you wanted to do a change across the system, then that would be a request to your journal manager. And then we had a few more questions about reviewers being added to the database. So the process for adding a reviewer, and Chandni showed it, is that if you would like to invite someone to review and they don't yet have a reviewer profile, if they're already in the system, perhaps with an author profile, then you can actually add the reviewer profile, the reviewer status to their profile. Now, in a practical sense, that would mean that they can obviously start accepting reviews. If they don't want to be a reviewer, then they can reject any review invitations that come their way. But if they want that reviewer status removed from their profile, then they would have to request that to be removed via the journal manager. But obviously, if it's applied and they're just rejecting the reviews, then that's the easiest way to do it as well. In other sessions, we've had questions about emails. So if you're inviting someone and they have an incorrect email, perhaps an outdated email that's associated with their profile, can you go in and change that? And the answer is no, you can't. You may have been able to do it in the past, but with GDPR protocol now, and that's personal data protection, you won't be able to do that. So that would have to be something where you either ask the user to log into their account and update their email address themselves, or you would need to ask the journal manager to administer that for you. And then we've also had some questions in previous sessions about just confirming how the proxy registration works. And so when you're proxy registering someone, you're basically creating a placeholder in the system for them. You can go ahead and you can send the invitation to them immediately, but that person needs to log into the account and they need to verify the account within 7 days. Otherwise, that kind of placeholder account that you've created will be deleted. So it's great to create it, but we do need, and this links back again to GDPR and personal data, they do need to log in and confirm that account, that they're happy for that account to be created within 7 days for it to continue to be there. Okay, we've had a couple more questions come in. And yeah, we're talking about removing submissions now. So send back to author. There are a couple of ways. So the editor can withdraw the submission. And also there may be a kind of an automatic archive in place. So a journal manager might be able to remove those if they've been there for a certain amount of time. Okay, I think that's it on the Q&A front. I'll hand back to Chandni, who's going to tell us a bit more about further sessions coming this week. Over to you, Chandni. Thanks.
Thanks, Charlotte. As a reminder, before we finish today, there are other events running as part of the Editor Learning Week, and there's still time to sign up for some of them via the same link you used to sign up for today. We'll post that link in the chat for you now. This is also where you will find a recording of all the sessions that will be available at the end of this week. So on screen, you can see the topics we are running for this week, for the rest of the week. So we have editorial efficiency in Editorial Manager, search and select reviewers, which is going to happen later today, and signposting to learning materials, working with article transfer service, and Editorial Manager training for associate editors. So I would encourage you to sign up for these sessions as much as possible. So that brings us to the end of our webinar today. So thank you so much for listening. Please now, can you take a few moments to complete our short survey? So you will see a QR code on the screen now, which you can use by opening your phone camera and holding it over the QR code, which will prompt a link to the survey on your phone. We will also post the survey link in the chat box now. The survey closes at the end of the week, and the information you're going to provide here will help us to create and deliver these webinars. So after the session, we will send you an email that will contain some helpful links, such as the webinar recording, short video guides, full EM training videos, and self-help editor guide to Editorial Manager. So please look out for that email. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time. Bye-bye.